Welcome. My name is Dennis DeLoach, and I'm the host of the Uncle Jim Effect podcast. Today, we're starting something new, and it's called the Friday Focus. What we're going to talk about on these Friday Focus short videos, we're going to discuss powerful principles that we can apply in our personal and professional life and business or any areas of life you want that I've seen in my life that have become very, very powerful to me. We'll talk about what these principles are. We'll introduce them, we'll define them, we'll talk about how to apply them in your life. We'll talk about what kind of value they bring to your life, both personally and in business. I'll share stories of some of the successes I've had as well as some of the failures. And then hopefully we'll leave you with a little challenge at the end of this that'll carry you over until we meet again. So we will be releasing our Uncle Jim Effect podcast on Tuesdays, and the Friday Focus will be released on Friday mornings. And so as you use those two tools in connection with each other, I think it'll give you tremendous value in growing in whatever area of life you want to do. So again, let's get started, and welcome to the Friday Focus. So today, as we're talking about this first Friday Focus, I want to talk to you about one of the most influential principles that I've learned in my life, and that is the principle of being intentional. And being intentional, the definition of that is to make deliberate choices to reflect what is most important to us. To make deliberate choices to reflect what is most important to us. So that assumes a couple of things. One, that we have determined in our life what is important to us. And we can label that what is important to us. We can call those goals. And so before we can become intentional, we need to know what is important in our life. And we can set these goals in business, in our personal life, finances, anything that you can quantify or measure. We can set goals in our life. And I encourage you to do so. Once these goals are set, it's how we apply our times and how intentional are we, or the deliberate actions we take that are related to that goal, that absolutely determines our degree of success. For example, there have been times in my life where if you were to look at my goal sheet, it would talk a lot about how important family is to me in developing relationships and how my health is critical. And working out a lot is so important to me. And yet, if you were to look at my calendar or my schedule or the actual activities I did on a daily basis, you would wonder why in the world I would speak the words and my goals, how important it was to me to work out, yet I wasn't doing it. And hence, that's how I became so overweight. And it stayed that way until I became very intentional and kind of recalibrated my actions to match my goals. And that's called being intentional. So it's one thing to set goals, but if your actions and calendar and your scheduled events don't match up to what your goals are, you're kidding yourself, and it doesn't really matter. So once we've determined that, one of the most important things, once we've set our goals and we determine we're going to become very intentional about reaching those goals, is what I've already mentioned, and that is our calendar. Because we should take our most important goals, and with those, what we should do is calendar our activities that coincide and match with those goals. So again, if we're just kidding ourselves if we have some high goals but the activities don't match it. So the value, and I want to share with you a quote. Vince Lombardi is probably one of the greatest coaches in the history of football, and the actual Super Bowl trophy is named after him. And he had a quote that talked a lot about that, and he said, "The quality of a person's life is in direct proportion to their commitment to excellence, regardless of their chosen field of endeavor." And that commitment to excellence is another way of saying being intentional. Because the only way you can commit to excellence is to have predetermined in your mind what excellence looks like. And that's excellence in relationship, excellence in business, excellence in my personal life, excellence in my spiritual life, excellence in my physical health and body. So, again, we've talked about being intentional. And how does this relate to the Uncle Jim Effect podcast? Well, in our life, I've told you how important the concept to me was and how it changed my life enough so that I've developed and committed my time to doing this podcast to hopefully affect and influence people out there. And so the challenge we have then becomes, okay, I heard the podcast or I've learned this principle. What do I do now? And if we do nothing with it, what a waste of time, talent, energy, and effort. So as we move forward, if we talk about things that create value for you, it's a waste of time if we don't become intentional about how I can implement that principle or thought or process in my life to get that type of result. So we're going to talk about the challenge. My challenge to you is, first and foremost, if you don't have specific, written, outrageously crazy goals that scare you, then do that first. Once you've done that, literally sit back and say, based on this goal, what type of activities do I need to do that will drive me to that result? And once I do that, then my schedule and the things I do throughout the day should match up and be congruent with my stated goals. If not, I'm kidding myself and I'm wasting time. I want to say thank you. I'm keeping these short. Again, today's principle in our first ever Friday Focus video is to be intentional. And it's probably one of the most important principles I've ever learned in my life. And it took me a long time to actually be very, very effective at implementing it. It's easy to talk about, hard to do. And it will expose you. It will expose you if you don't do it. So again, please subscribe to this channel. Please like it below and leave contacts. And leave messages. I'll respond to as many of them as I can. And you can also email me with some of the stories that you have about being intentional, and also specifically about any Uncle Jim moment you've had in your life where somebody has done something, said something, or influenced you in such a way that has changed your life significantly, or maybe you've had that effect on someone else. Please share those with us. Again, I'm trying to get people like you with those type of stories on this podcast so that we can affect as many lives as possible and create that tsunami of hope that we talked about in the first episode. Please email me at DeLoach, that is DELOACH, podcast, PODCAST, at gmail.com. And you can tell I have no technical skills. My screen keeps going dark. I will improve with that. Again, DeLoach, DELOACH, podcast, PODCAST, at gmail.com. And let's see if we can't get you on here, share your story, and influence people. Thank you so much. I look forward to working with you and changing lives. And get busy getting after it, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.